Good morning. Welcome to Shattering Myths, the program that's devoted to those of you who've come to realize that all of the world's human institutions, whether they be political or religious, military, or media, even economic, are corrupt, counterproductive, unreliable. For those of you who would like to know if there is something that you can trust, someone you can depend on, this show is for you. It is my pleasure on Fridays to welcome Kirk in the first hour as we examine the Torah, and then al-Rassooli in the second hour as we consider the plague that is Islam. Kirk, let's quickly review where we are in the 23rd Psalm since you brought us here. I would also like to continue our analysis of the 22nd, since it leads us to the 23rd.
Okay.
But what we have is a song of Dode. Yahweh is my shepherd. He is the one who is observant. I shall not be diminished. I shall not have any unfulfilled need, be abated or bereaved. In an abode befittingly beautiful, conducive to growing, to sprouting out, to flourishing and abundant life. He enables me to stretch out and then recline appropriately sheltered after having exerted myself above the Almighty's waters, calm and composed, satisfied. He leads me to the light. My soul he restores. He wants to guide me when I trust him, with accurate, upright, and vindicating teaching throughout life, on account of his personal and proper name. Well, I know we spent a considerable amount of time on this yesterday, Kirk, but there are two realities in this statement, perhaps three, that are essential to understand, and if we don't understand them, as I don't think one Christian in a million does, we are really blinding ourselves to who God is, what he's offering, how he goes about his business. And the first of those is that God's desire is to teach us. So there's absolutely no reason whatsoever to ask God his will for your life. He's told you. If you went and told your wife, what I'd like to do this evening is go out to dinner to my favorite steakhouse, and then she asked you, what would you like to do for dinner? Would you feel like, well, are you not listening to me? Do you not care why would you ask me what I want when I just told you what I want?
Well, that's usually the male role.
So this is what Yahweh has done. Yahweh has been very clear. He says in this statement, what I want to do is I want to teach you.
Yes.
So why would anybody in their right mind ask God for his will?
Once I figured that part out, it became, I never ask again.
I didn't, and I don't.
I was curious again.
No.
Exactly what he wants you to do. Shamar Torah. Once I put that in my brain, I said, okay, this is the plan. This is what he wants most of all.
This is what he wants to do. Because he knows that good things will result if we Shamar, observe the Torah. If we learn from his teaching, all good things result.
Right.
We will come to know him if we prioritize learning from his guidance. We'll come to know him. We'll come to understand what he's offering through the covenant. We'll appreciate how he has established the conditions for participating in the covenant and what we need to do to engage. We'll come to embrace those things. We'll come to understand the benefits of the covenant. We'll begin our eternal voyage of discovery with him. But he knows if we listen to what he has to say, all good things are going to result. And since he wants the best for us, he's desirous of teaching us. It's really a pretty simple concept, isn't it?
Yeah. Look what you've learned in the first three sentences, or from 23:1 to 23:3.
Right.
Wow, that is seems so radically different, but it's so obviously, and we've analyzed it all, and I've looked at every angle from it is exactly, your translation is exactly accurate.
And the beauty of the whole thing is that it does not stand alone. No. It stands in the context and in the shadow of, right next to, juxtaposed with, the 22nd Psalm, which speaks of the fulfillment of Passover, unyeasted bread, and Bakurim, and then this transitions directly into the fulfillment of the promise of the Shabbat.
He was telling David exactly what he showed to Abraham.
Exactly. He took him to the light, just as this says. Dode is acknowledging that he's taking us to the light. Just as he did with Abraham, when Abraham said, I don't understand what I'm inheriting, and Yahowah showed him, took him to the spiritual realm, and equated the spiritual realm with becoming like light.
But he just enlightened us. I mean...
Exactly. So we've learned a lot. We've enjoyed the process. We've grown as a result of this. All of the things that Yahowah intended are here. So the first thing is, don't ask God His will. Don't go yabber to Him. He's told you His will is to teach us. He has a book called Teaching. It's the Torah. Turn to it. Study it. A lot of good things will result. The second thing that struck me on this is that he is equating his teaching to that which is accurate, upright, and vindicating. So he's saying that his teaching, his Torah, vindicates. In fact, tzedakah is the only Hebrew word that can be accurately translated makes righteous or is righteous. So this is a referendum in favor of the Torah and in opposition to Christianity. Because Christianity has as its pivotal clause the negation of the Torah, the declaration that no one can be saved by the Torah, that the Torah cannot make righteous. That's the declaration. That's the foundation. That's what Paul etched in his letters, both Galatians and Romans. The fundamental plank of Christianity, which is in direct opposition to what the Dode is stating here. If one is true, the other is false. And there's no way for Christianity to be true if this statement is false. So Christianity loses either way.
Yeah, it has no feet.
Right. So that's the second thing here, is that Yahowah wants us to learn from him, and he is categorically stating that which he is teaching us is accurate, it's upright, it's straightforward, it's honest, and it's proven. Boy, he does prove it with prophecy. And that the result will be that we'll be declared innocent and vindicated. We'll be declared righteous. Now, he did say that the declaration of righteousness here, and the proof that what he was saying is valid, is in his name. So I thought about something this morning. If the proof and the means to vindication is in his name, what is he telling us?
Well, I think you better examine his name, wouldn't you?
Well, you know, how about this? How about we turn back to the first line of the 22nd Psalm? What name did he give us?
Yahowah.
Yahusha. 22nd Psalm.
Yahusha. Up this morning.
Yeah, Yahusha.
I was going to ask you about something on that.
Okay. He gave us Yahusha's name. If he's saying that he's proving that his teaching can vindicate, which means to save, is there a name that is associated with Yahowah that means Yahowah saves, that he used to demonstrate that he was in fact trustworthy in this regard?
Well, Yahusha is that word.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? So he's declaring that he is going to vindicate us using his name, and there's only one person that made that declaration using his name. That would be Yahusha. Boy, you really need to know his name to understand that that's Yahweh saves. Now, what were you going to ask?
Well, that's nice. You know, in the 22nd one, it says Yeshua.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about that, and on the lexicons, all the English, even the English lexicons, Yeshua becomes Yahshua.
Well, yeah, Joshua. They claim it's Joshua.
Yeah, Joshua.
Yeah.
And that's synonymous with what eventually becomes Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, how come? By the way, how come the exact same spelling is? Well, first of all, how does Yahusha become Joshua?
Can't. But I mean, anything you want if you desire. You know what?
I don't know how you get from Yahusha to Joshua.
We have wise in our language, so I think we can do it.
Yeah. So, but beyond that, if the name is exactly the same, and every Christian lexicon knows that the name Yahusha, which was changed to Joshua, is exactly the same name that they have given to Jesus, why didn't they give Jesus the name Joshua?
Well, that was one question, and then when you have
okay, so what's the answer to that one?
Well, they did it on purpose. I mean, they don't want you to connect.
No, they don't want you to make a connection, do they?
No. So they fight you every step of the way.
Right, because Joshua is clearly a Hebrew name, and they don't want you to make that connection.
Funny, they always are consistent with Yahweh and Lord, but then Yeshua becomes something
Jesus.
else. And,
Jesus.
And Yahushua becomes Joshua, and it's just, gosh, after a while you just want to throw up.
Inconsistencies prove either that you are purposefully misleading
or ignorant,
or that you're ignorant. That you're unaware of what you're doing. But if you're publishing lexicons and publishing translations, you really can't claim as a justification, we're just stupid, we're just ignorant, we didn't know that Jesus and Joshua were both based on the same Hebrew name, Yahusha. If you're publishing lexicons and dictionaries and translations, you can't claim I'm ignorant. So that means that the deception is deliberate.
The only way.
Welcome back to Shattering Myths. So, Kirk, we have a lot of deception going on here. Do you think that there is any chance that the translators or the publisher of the English Bibles that begin the 23rd Psalm, "The Lord is my shepherd," do you think there's even one of them that does not know it reads Yahweh is my shepherd?
Every lexicon, I'm looking at 5 right now on my table, and the stuff I use on the internet. Every one of them translates Lord back to Yahweh or Yahweh. Yeah. So obviously, who you kidding?
Who you kidding?
They choose to call it Lord.
Right.
And no one asks the question why.
Yeah, they know in the Dead Sea Scrolls that it's Yahweh. They know that in the Masoretic it's written as Yahweh. They know that there isn't a single ancient manuscript that begins Baal.
Yeah.
Not one. Not one says Baal is my shepherd.
No.
Not one says Adon, which would be short for Adonis, also Lord. Yeah, and Baal, of course, was the principal god of the Babylonians, means the Lord. It's a name. Baal is a name, and it's a title. It's a name based upon a title, which is a common word in Hebrew. Lord, to own, to possess, to control. That's why it's to lord over.
It just takes so little research to figure this out once you go looking for it, once you know to go look for it. To continue on with it is criminal to the nth degree. You just
right. So if you're a Christian and you're listening and you're mad at us for telling you that your English Bible translation not only isn't the inerrant Word of God, it's a deliberate hoax. It is a deliberate myth. It is purposefully and deliberately misrepresenting the testimony of Yahweh. and that it has done so in a most heinous way, because Yahowah says, I want to teach you accurate and dependable, vindicating information and a way to live your life on account of my name.
So that you can.
And they replaced his name with Satan's name and title, Baal, Lord.
You know, and if you can't come to the conclusion that that's absolutely disgusting on every level.
So if you can't trust them on books which they say, trust us, this is the inerrant word of God, if you can't trust them on that, Christian, why would you trust them with anything? If you can't trust them with the very name of your religion, Christianity, and you don't realize that there is nothing associated with Yahowah that is Christ. Nothing. If you're not smart enough to know that, then shame on you. And if you do know it, once you come to know it, if you're willing to accept the liar's religion, what's wrong with you? You know, they cling to their precious Jesus, and yet no one was named Jesus. The name is wrong. It's just flat out wrong. And if you're deluded yourself to think that, well, he knows who I'm talking to, I'm telling you, the problem is you don't know who you're talking to. And you don't know that that God is not listening to you. And that he shouldn't be listening to you because you should be listening to him.
Right. Oh, yeah, very excellent point. I mean, so obvious, yeah.
It's so obvious. You know, Paul was saying, pray without ceasing. Yahowah never asked us to pray.
No.
But he sure as heck asked us to listen to him and to pay attention to his teaching, to observe it. You know,
boy, are we twisted.
Are we just so twisted? I mean, the religion of Christianity is literally upside down. It is so twisted, so perverted, so errant, and none of it is by accident. Absolutely none of the errors of Christianity are based on ignorance. Every one of them is deliberate. You know, you should be, if you're a Christian, you should be angry, not at us. You should be angry at every practitioner of your religion for deliberately misleading you and your family and your mother and your father and their parents and your children. Condemning all of them to exactly what Dode knew he was liberated from, the death and destruction of your soul. Oh.
Boy.
So there's a lot of power here, both in favor of the Torah, in favor of Yahowah, and in direct opposition to Jesus and to Christianity, as well as to Paul and everything associated with faith. How many times do you hear an evangelist say, come here, I want to teach you? That's not what they say. What Yahowah says, however, come, I want to teach you. I don't like normally, Kirk, to interrupt this portion of the program with a rebuttal to an advertisement, but that grandma's endorsement of longevity and of one of the hosts promoting it is just it's just repulsive. I mean, it's to use an old lady's voice to create credibility like that where none is deserved. It really is irritating to me. And it's irritating to me that GCN continues to run those ads, knowing that it just takes time away from this program for me to tell listeners, do not, under any circumstances, buy that crap. Don't do it. Don't waste your money. And it's irritating to have to even listen to it during the break. Oh, goodness. I mean, it's just, man, it's just so corrupt. I mean, we're just, why not? If you can't tell people the truth, why even bother?
Money.
Yeah, well, that's obviously why religions prosper. They are deliberately misleading people, and they're doing it for a reason. The publishers who are printing Bibles that tell people what they want to hear, as opposed to what's actually written, there's only one motivation for doing that.
Yeah, financial gain.
Money. Money. And the pastors that promote them, You know, the pastors that are trying to get the pews filled in their church so that the participants can offer their tithes, doing it for money. Yeah, it's sick. All right, so this goes on to say, even though I walk on an ongoing basis in a valley of the shadow of distress, of darkness, of death, and of dissipation of all light, I will neither fear nor show respect for the miserable, distressing, destructive, and violent nature of evil. Kirk, you know, I want to share something with you that is, I think, related to that passage. It came on me like a freight train this morning. The U.S. government has, another alternative on its spying on Americans. You know, it's got an Air Force now with the FBI spying on us. And it's got the NSA spying on us, and it's got the CIA spying, and all this kind of stuff. And there was a congresswoman, I think even a senator, and she was responding to what they're blaming on the Chinese, and who knows if it was the Chinese or not, that breached the internet protocols of government workers, some just astronomical number of them, like 5 million of them. And she said, well, you know, what we're going to do is we're just going to retaliate. And we'll show them, and we'll do the same thing they did to us. You know, when you get into acting like a thief, when you begin to act like and you respond like someone who is bearing false witness, who is doing criminal behavior, what does that make you?
Makes you the same as them.
Exactly.
Sounds like Muhammad talking, don't it?
Oh, God, it sounds just like our CIA using sexual perversion to torture detainees, mimicking the behavior that's used of those they're torturing. And what it makes us is perverted as the people whose perversion we're trying to stop.
I think it makes it worse because you're pretending that you're not.
Oh, I know it does. But this is the point that came on me like a freight train this morning.
Okay.
What the senators said and the experts said is that they're coming up with a plan for surveillance that will have no negative influence on law-abiding citizens. And it dawned on me. Here is Paul in Christianity saying that there is no way that you should even consider obeying God's law, his Torah. Now, Torah doesn't mean law, and you know it, and you know that there's no Hebrew word for obey, but that's still their stance. Do not even attempt to obey God's law. And yet, what did Paul write about the laws of Rome?
Well, he said obey those.
Submit to them. Yeah.
God put them in place.
Oh, yeah, he said that that same God put those laws in place, and you need to obey your government. You need to submit to your government. So I ask you, how is it that a Christian thinks that they've been freed of the law when they've rejected what they think is the law of God, but yet they're supposed to be obey and submit to the law of man? You gotta submit to the laws of your government, but for crying out loud, don't you even think about submitting to the laws of God. And yet these same buffoons claim to speak for God. The same idiots have founded a religion of Christianity based upon that peculiar, irrational concept. But think about that. Obey the laws of man, but do not obey the laws of God. The laws of God can't save you, but the laws of man, oh, yeah, sure, they'll save you.
He'll bless you for that.
Boy, who does that sound like? Does that sound like America and Europe circa the era of political correctness and socialist secular humanism?
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, Terry says we're now living in a Fellini film.
Yeah, we really are. Wow. submit to the laws of man, but reject the laws of God. The laws of man, they can save you, but the laws of God, no, they can't save you.
No.
Wow.
Yeah, that is a great point. I mean, it's just so, it's just, I don't have words for it. It's so silly. I mean, it's so ridiculous. I mean,
that is the basis of Romans.
Mm-hmm.
The letter to the Romans establishes a New Testament because, according to its author, Paul, the Old Testament enslaves. And then he goes in the 7th chapter and he tells us that the Torah should be equated to a dead husband that has absolutely no influence over the widow. The Torah is dead, according to Romans 7. And then in Romans 13, it's obey, submit to your government and to those political leaders that are above you, because God put them in place. But that same God, he didn't put the Torah in place, did he?
No, he threw it away because he figured out he just didn't know what he was doing.
Torah's dead. God's dead.
Oh, yeah.
That God's dead.
Oh, yeah.
He equated, doesn't Yahowah equate himself to his Torah?
I think they're synonymous in this.
So if the Torah is dead, doesn't make that, from a Christian point of view, make God dead?
Yeah.
Wow. That's Romans for you, man. And there is no way to disassociate Romans from Paul, nor Romans from Christianity. Romans is the centerpiece of the religion of Christianity. Ask any pastor.
Their opus magnus.
Yeah. What is the largest sect of Christianity in the world?
Roman Catholicism.
Right. What did Yahowah say was the most vicious of all beasts?
Rome.
And did he say that even after the empire of Rome comes to an end, that Rome will continue to tread on the entire world as the most vicious beast that has ever existed right through the last days?
And you can build a tremendous case for that. We're not even thinking hard.
So who is the whore of Babylon?
Well, it's always been Rome. I mean,
Roman Catholicism.
Even as a Christian, we kind of figured that part out.
Yeah, Roman Catholicism. And how different is Protestant Christianity or Eastern Orthodox Christianity from Roman Catholicism? What day do they gather?
They all gather on the sun god's day.
Right. What day do they all ignore?
They always ignore the Shabbat, the Sabbath.
Who do they all claim is God?
Well, it's always the Lord. Baal.
The Lord Jesus Christ. Who do they all say, whose name do they never use?
Never use Yahweh's.
Which of them celebrates Pesach, Matzah, Bakutim, and Shabuah?
Zip. None.
Which of them celebrates the Babylonian day of Easter and the winter solstice?
Oh, that's Christian to the core. Without
Christian, yeah. Right. Is there any one of the three that doesn't have a Trinity?
Not to my knowledge.
Wow. Is there any one of the three that removed Paul's letters? Or claims that the Torah is still in vogue and there really is no New Testament?
The most quoted words in the history of mankind.
So who is the whore of Babylon?
Gosh, let's go back. Let's think. The Christians?
Christian religion.
Christian church religion?
You betcha. Christian church. Did God ever say he had a church?
Never did.
Never did.
Never wanted one, never gave
He said he had a mikvah.
How to do it, and he had a mikvah, but that's the party.
He said he had a mikvah. The mikvah, the means to the path to him. It says he has a mikvah. The mikvah is what he's just described here in Psalm 22 and 23.
Well, I was reading 22, which is describing the horror of that weekend.
Mm-hmm.
It just about brings you to tears. And then, in context, I was thinking about the mikvahs, and we're asked, our participation is to celebrate and have a party because he did that. So I'm going,
yeah.
Boy, obey the law. What?
Yeah, is there anything Well, in fact, why don't let's deal with this particular statement, and we'll go back to the 22nd Psalm.
No, I didn't mean to get us off track.
No, and I do. I want to go back to the 22nd Psalm. But here he says, even though I actually walk on an ongoing basis in a depression, in the valley of the shadow of distress, of darkness, and of death, and of dissipation of all light, I will neither fear nor show respect for the miserable, destructive, distressing, and violent nature of evil. So when he says that, what do you think he's referring to, Kurt?
Well, in this particular context, he's talking about the earthly stuff.
Yeah, he's talking about the influence of those who can influence his life.
Right.
Influence the world around it. Political leaders, military leaders, religious leaders.
The whole gamut, yeah.
Yeah. That's the valley of darkness, death. So that is really the only reasonable deduction that you can have from this statement. Though I actually walk on an ongoing basis in a valley of shadows and distress, of darkness and death, of dissipation of all light, I will neither fear nor will I respect the miserable, destructive, and violent nature of evil. Now, there is no chance here that he can be talking about lions, tigers, and bears.
Hardly.
I mean, because is a bear evil because a bear eats?
No. And they don't wipe out everything for food either.
Yeah. I mean, predators are not evil because they eat. And so when he's speaking of evil, Ra, which is evil here, the darkness that he is speaking of has to be human behavior. And because he is talking about it on a global scale, it's not a lone thief in the woods. It's not a snake oil salesman, even a grandma trying to sell snake oil. No. This is institutionalized. It's broad-based evil. And so if Yahowah's word is the standard which he is using, and Yahowah's name attached to his word, then the evil that is institutionalized, that is broad-based, that is the antithesis of the light, has to be the broad-based human institutions, which are political institutions, religious, military, and economic. Those are the four.
That's the controlling forces.
Those are the four. So he's saying that I'm not going to fear them, I'm not going to respect them. That's the attitude that we have.
Now that's another blow to Paul.
You betcha. Paul said, submit to and respect.
Submit to, respect, bow down.
Yeah, these human leaders in government, and he's saying here, I'm not going to respect them. I'm not going to fear them. I won't respect them.
Yeah, so you want to be like Paul, you want to be like Dode.
Right. And by the way, you have to get to a point where you don't fear them to stand up and bow your back to speak out against them, because that's what Dode is doing here. He's bowing his back and he's speaking out against human institutions, religious and political.
Yeah, he was a big target too. So he was
a big target.
Stand up.
Yeah, big target. Stood up. So he had the courage to stand up because he did not fear them. That's why, people all the time, admire your fear for, speaking out against Islam. And I say, what fear? What courage? When I fear, I don't have any courage. I don't fear Muslims. This Islamophobe thing is the most ridiculous idea ever perpetrated on humankind. I don't fear them. I don't have any courage because I don't have any fear. It's just simply the right thing to do. Dode didn't have any fear either. Why didn't Dode have fear is the same reason why I don't have any fear.
Yahowah said he's already promised he'd take care of it.
Yeah, that's right.
He takes care of his children.
He does, exactly.
Children.
Yeah, well, children and children. I know, you're Southern.
Yeah, sometimes it slips out.
We speak Southern here in Virginia.
Yeah.
So he's telling us that Yahowah is protecting him because Yahowah views him as one of his sheep, as someone who is a follower of his. And so Yahowah is protecting him against the threat of all human institutions. That's really strong. And yet these threats are pervasive because he used the imperfect to speak of them. Though I continually walk through this depression, and I think that religious institutions, because they deliberately deceive, they take people's money on not just false hope, but things that are counterproductive. I think that's depressing, and he's speaking of a depression. And he says, the reason he's not going to respect them, the reason he's not going to fear them is because you are with me. Imad Eni. You are beside me, accompanying me, surrounding me, even upon me. Do you think, Kirk, that Yahowah was physically present like a man walking with Dode?
No, he wasn't physically present with him.
No. Never once does Dode say, I saw him, I touched him, I broke bread with him, I ate with him. No, that's so. He wasn't. Do you think that Yahowah was with Dode any differently than he's with you?
The Ruach Kodesh is the same.
Yeah.
She is watching over. She's covered it with the light.
The word's the same too, isn't it?
The word's the same.
The word's the same. That which you're observing is the same. The voice you're listening to is the same. The Ruach Kodesh, the set-apart spirit, is the same. That's how Yahowah was with him, just as he is with you.